Hi, my name is Teacher Caroline and this is Quick Tips for VIPKid. Today I'm going to be talking about teaching Level 7. Before we get started, I want to take just a minute to thank every single one of you who have subscribed to my YouTube channel. It's been a really fun hobby and I have surpassed my 100 subscribers goal, so thank you so much for subscribing. I also want to thank those of you who have taken the time to write a comment on one of my videos. This one was written by Doreen Glenn and she wrote it on my video about how to provide quality feedback to parents. Here's what Doreen Glenn had to say. I've been binge watching your videos. I'm always watching different YouTube videos trying to learn something new. I have been with VIPKid a little over a year. Your videos are so practical and informative. I will be sharing your channel with my teacher friends. Thank you. Wow, Doreen, thank you so much for the feedback. I have over 100 ideas of videos that I'd like to make for you to help you with your VIPKid teaching. So without further ado, let's get started on teaching Level 7. I do want to mention that I am not serving as an official VIPKid representative in this video. I'm just a teacher who teaches Level 7 students and I really enjoy it, and I want to share some information with you about it in case you're interested in becoming certified to teach Level 7 as well. VIPKid does tend to change quickly as they're constantly improving their curriculum and the services that they offer. So please take note of the date you're watching this video versus the date I created and posted the video, and make sure that you are following VIPKid's information because mine might get a little bit out of date. But what will never be out of date is some of those methods for teaching a high Level 7 kid. I hope to share some of those with you and help you get started off on a great foot. The first thing I'll do in this video is to discuss the structure of Level 7, and then I'll go a little bit more into some teaching methods that might be helpful for you. Let's start with structure. One way that Level 7 is different from the other levels is that there are 6 units and they each contain 24 lessons instead of the typical 12. Those 24 lessons are divided into 6 learning cycles. LC stands for learning cycles. So the first learning cycle has lessons 1 through 4, and each subsequent learning cycle also has 4 lessons in it. At the end of learning cycles 1 through 5, the student will give a speech, and they're usually very well prepared for this speech because there is a lot of careful build-up to get them ready. This 6th learning cycle is a little bit different. At the end of this learning cycle, the student will present an essay that they have also built toward throughout the learning cycle. You can read the essay and edit the essay right there in class with the student. Now, it would be impossible for me to explain the content of every single one of those 24 lessons. However, if you're not sure if you want to teach Level 7 or not, I feel like it would be helpful to know the types of things that you'd be teaching. They are upper level concepts, upper level grammatical concepts, upper level figurative language, so it's kind of a good idea to know what you're in for. I'm going to read just a few of the topics that are covered in Level 7. Under the vocabulary section, there are things like context clues, idioms, colloquialisms, and puns. Under reading, you'll teach the student things like character feelings, comparing different media sources, theme, analyzing text structures, and very close readings. When it comes to grammar, you'll be doing things like run-on sentences, common and proper nouns, and comparative and superlative adjectives. Some of the writing assignments that your student will do will be research projects and personal narratives. So that just gives you an idea about the upper level concepts and skills that you will be doing with your student. In my mind, a lot of the things we're doing with the students are really high school level English skills that we might teach here in the United States. So there are times when I kind of have to brush up on the skills a little bit before I present it to the student to make sure I really know what I'm talking about. Next, let's discuss what was my Achilles heel in my first few Level 7 classes: timing. The way it currently works is you will teach basically 2 back-to-back classes, but with the same student. So on your schedule, it will look like a bigger block of time. 2 classes grouped together as one with 1 student. You'll teach for 25 minutes, take a 10-minute break, and then come back and teach for 23 more minutes. So let's talk about how that feels when you're teaching. You'll turn on your camera and teach just like normal for the first 24 minutes. Then at that 24-minute mark, a notification will appear in front of you that says you have 1 minute until your mandatory break. My understanding is that the student cannot see that notification, so I always like to tell them, looks like we have 1 more minute before our break. That way the break doesn't feel so abrupt to them and they kind of know, okay, it's coming. And then when the break comes, I say, I'll see you in 10 minutes. and then it's your responsibility to turn off your camera and off your microphone. My first class, I thought it would automatically turn off, so I was just kind of sitting there and it didn't, and I realized I had to turn it off myself. Maybe that will change in the future, but for now, you have to turn everything off, and then a countdown will show in front of you for 10 minutes. This is kind of a nice long break. It's a good time to get yourself resettled, maybe even start your feedback. Then, when class is to resume in 1 more minute, a really loud alarm will sound. You can click a button to silence the alarm, and then it's your responsibility to turn on the camera and the microphone at the 35-minute mark. This is where it can get a little bit harder to keep track of time because we're not used to seeing the clock keep going up and up and up to 58 minutes. I use this sticky note to help guide me and make sure that I'm going to get through all the slides in time. It's not perfect because, as we know, all the lessons vary in terms of exactly how many slides they have, but it gives me a pretty good idea. I know at 50 minutes I should be roughly on slide 29. This is a major lifesaver for me. I like to distribute my stars by doing 2 before the break and 3 after. It just leaves more fun stuff for the end. Something else I want to mention, I haven't taught enough level 7 classes to know this for certain, but in the ones I've taught, I have noticed a natural break a little over halfway through class. So the first half tends to be focused on the speech or a close reading or maybe the writing, and then the second half tends to be focused more on grammar or sentence structures, things like that. I can't quite time that 10-minute break during that natural transition. It just isn't quite working for me because I want the break a little earlier. So I've tended to do the 10-minute break, come back, and use those last couple slides about the first topic as review. So I'll say, welcome back, let's review what we were discussing. And there are usually 2 or 3 more slides on that first topic. And then we transition into the second area of study. At the end of every level 7 class, there's a student self-assessment page. This lists everything you talked about, and the student can go through and check what they feel really confident about, maybe not so confident, or definitely still don't know it. Every single student that I've taught has said that they perfectly understand everything. So I've also used this slide as an opportunity for myself to review and recall what the student needs to work on. So I might underline something and ask them to repeat it or tell them to work on it a little bit more after class. Now I'm going to move a little bit into teaching strategies for this level. VIPKid says in their training material that you still want to follow the I do, we do, you do format. Even though they're really high level, we can't just switch to a slide and expect them to be able to do all of it. Although sometimes they can, it's okay to still do an I do moment to help them along. Something else that's really different about these upper level classes is that your props need to change. And really, I don't use very many props at all in level 7. This is hard for me. I kind of have to push my own hands down when I'm prepping for class because I like to use tons and tons of props with the lower levels. But with level 7, it's just kind of inappropriate to be holding up these cheesy little props when they are almost fluent in English at this point. I do think digital props are a great way to go. Things like GIFs and videos. For example, I was teaching the word entertainer the other day, so I found a video of a juggler. Something like that that can make these new vocabulary words come to life and also show the student the nuances of the words that they're learning. So I'm not saying don't use props, just be very selective about how you're using them and making sure that the props themselves are appropriate for upper level students. We're not teaching them the difference between an apple and a banana anymore. Something else that's very different about teaching level 7 is that according to VIPKid at the time that I'm making this video, you are not required to provide a supplementary reward for level 7. I always do, however, but you've got to make sure that it's appropriate for an upper level student. Get to know you questions are a great reward for level 7 because who doesn't love talking about themselves? It really serves as a great juxtaposition to the academic content of class to have the student conducting a natural conversation with you. And parents really like to see the student thinking on the spot in English and having a real conversation with a native English speaker. While we're on the topic of parent expectations, let's talk a little bit more about that. One of the most important things to note is that in level 7, parents do not want to see you speaking super slowly to their student. They want the student to be able to visit an English-speaking country and blend right in. And they want you to speak with a normal speaking speed. This is a little tricky. Maybe you had a level 2 right before your level 7, and so you're in the mode of speaking slowly and pronouncing your words very clearly. And then all of a sudden you have a level 7 student. You really have to Switch that light switch in your brain and talk to them as if they are able to keep up with your normal speaking speed. I like to think of it as maybe like you're on stage. So you are still speaking with a normal speed, but you may be pronouncing your words just a little bit more than you normally would so they can hear the correct pronunciation. Parents also really expect you to fix their student's pronunciation. They know their student is capable of holding conversations, but what they would like for you to do is make sure that they sound as close to a native English speaker as possible. And in order to do that, we have to fix even those little errors in pronunciation. Putting those mistakes and areas of improvement in feedback really allows the parent to see that you are paying attention to every single mispronounced word. I have a video for how to provide meaningful and quality feedback to parents after class. This video is especially good for this level. I'll provide it in a link above and below so you can check it out. So in conclusion, you can see how the structure and the teaching methods for level 7 are quite different from the lower levels. I love teaching level 7. I love it because you can truly connect with the student, and I have learned a lot from them about the Chinese culture, about how their education system works, about their family and how they celebrate holidays and so forth. It's a lot of fun to get to know them and to allow them to get to know you a little bit more. If there's any negative of teaching level 7, it might be that the topics can be quite serious. I just taught a class where we discussed homelessness and whether or not a society has an obligation to help a homeless person or not. That topic is pretty serious, and if you enjoy those kinds of deep conversations, you might love level 7. But if that's not your thing, level 7 might not be your thing either. Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me on this discussion of teaching level 7 classes. If you have any specific questions about a slide you encounter, or you want to know more about teaching level 7, please email me at teachercarolinewise@gmail.com. I have been in conversation with some of you over email. It's a lot of fun, and I'm available there to chat if you ever need extra help. Thanks for visiting. I appreciate you subscribing to my channel and clicking the alert button so you can be notified of future videos. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.